I'm not fan of this. So we're going to begin the scene number 2, concerning titled "Fundamental Rights or Individuals of Fundamental Rights of Individuals." Of course, concerning data protection. First, I want to say that there are three elements. There are three elements which characterize fundamental rights. This question of public law, of course, but I'm professor in public law, so I have to talk that. So there are three elements characterize the concept of fundamental rights. The first refers to the subject matters of these rights. The first refers to the subject matters of these rights. The second relates to the value of the right itself. Relates to the value of the rights itself, which to be fundamental. And what means? It means, in order to be fundamental, that it must be proclaimed. It must be proclaimed by a norm, at least supra-legislative value. Will be fundamental must be proclaimed at least by a norm, supra-legislative value. And what is the third element that characterizes concept of fundamental rights? The third criterion is that judicial protection. Is that judicial protection. So, considering these three characters, we're going to see that the protection of personal data obey to respect these three conditions. We will find them in all the law protecting this right. Because the first thing important to say, it's easy to say it now in 2025. The first thing to say is the protection of natural persons, the protection of natural persons with regard to the processing of personal data is a fundamental right. It seems to be easy, but it was not before. It was not before, now it is. It's a fundamental right, and we're going to see how and when and by which text it has been proclaimed, of course. In our domestic law, in French law, this recognition was not in the original text, original version of the law of 1978. You remember that said that the original version of the law was of 1978. It was the law that has been created, the CNIL. Okay. So it was the original version. But in this version, you don't have the recognition of a character of fundamental right. It's only in 2004, that this recognition has been done. Only at this time that it has been done, and it has been done because the law of 2004, yes, was applied. The directive, you remember I was talking about it. The directive 95/46 directive and remember I said that the directive fixed the goals and let the state members choose the way to reach these goals, and France was not very hurried to transposate the directive, and it waited the law of 2004 to do it. So it's in 2004 that we changed the law of 1978 to recognize the data protection as a fundamental right in French law. So this asks some several questions, and this time I propose you to follow not only two, not only three, but this time 4 sections to talk about this theme. 4 sections, and the first one, section 1, is upon the fundamental nature of the right. The fundamental nature of the right of personal data protection, and you will see after some questions that are driven upon this first question. We see after the holder in section 2, the holder of fundamental rights. The holder of fundamental rights protecting personal data. And after, in section 3, we'll see the effective content of this right. And at the end, in section 4, after the section 3 concerning the effective content, in section 4 we'll see the limitations of the exercise of these rights. So, first of all, in the first section, we'll see the question of titled "The Fundamental Nature of the Right to Personal Data Protection." The fundamental nature of the rights of personal data protection. And you have to know that in Europe, oftenly, and we are going to follow this scheme, oftenly, as a kind of question we have to study, we study it beyond 2 points, the European law point of view and the internal French law point of view. So I will follow these things because, of course, the 1978 French law was more ancient and more old that the directive and, of course, now the GDPR. So there is a kind of way that explains that we have to first study, on the first point, the domestic law, French law. And after we will see the question of international and almost European rights law. So, first of the 2 points of the first section concerning the domestic law, of course, related to the fundamental nature of the right of data protection law. So, what we have to say first is that our constitution, the French constitution, did not recognize the text, did not recognize the right to data protection, data personal protection. We are not alone, like in this point of view. Many other constitutions not include this right in the text, in their own text. This is often the case, in fact, in Europe. This case, I can give some country, Belgium, Italy, Germany. You see, I take some country around France because these texts, this constitution, are quite next to the French constitution, and so it's not a question, especially French case. It's a case that you can see it's repeated in other countries. However, and it, of course, because it's different. However, other states around us, around mine, other texts have included data protection in their national constitution. Other texts, other states have included data protection in their national constitutions. As an example, Greece, Netherlands, or Portugal. So, but whatever in France, the protection has been linked to privacy. By the Constitutional Council of France, and in 2004, it was linked, or the right to privacy is right constitutionally protected. Is a right constitutionally protected. So it was linked, and so data protection is now, in this fact, constitutionally protected because of the privacy, because of the protection of the right of the privacy. Of course, I belong to a law scholar, that say that this link, but it's personal. I'm not alone, of course, but it's a scholar thing. This link is quite artificial. It's quite artificial because the conception of privacy in French law is only according to the protection of intimate life. And not only all that we are included in the concept of privacy. I mean that the concept of privacy is larger than the right to private life. It's larger than the right to private life. The right will protect intimity. And of course, there is some personal data which have no linked with intimity, which have not linked to intimity as biometric data. It's not intimity, it's not private life, or whatever data that physically identify a person, which not linked to with private life. So we are several searchers to say that the court, even the Constitutional Council, which is the constitutional judge in France, they say that the Constitutional Council has made a too large interpretation, appreciate too largely the concept of privacy to include all the rights of data protection, data personal protection. Whatever, in front of the constitutional law, we are false, but we continue to say that the constitutional judge is itself false in this appreciation. So the second point concerning this right, concerning this first section of the right, it's not only the question under domestic law. The second point, this is this right, the right to personal data protection, under domestic law, under European and international human rights law. Under European and international human rights law. First of this question, the protection under the Council of Europe. Protection under Council of Europe. Alors, so I have two words to say to explain the complexity of that we call European law, because you have, in fact, in Europe, there is two kinds of institutions with two texts, and they are different. In one hand, you have European, write it in French. You have European Union. It's that you have been heard about. This European Union has a construction since 57, and it includes 27 members. 27 members. It's very integrated, and for the European Union, as I said since Monday, the treaty are most around economic point of view, because the first, this construction, as you can say, is economic and political. Economic first, political in second. When we are talking about GDPR, we are talking about EU. Okay, and the treaty of the EU, the treaty are applied by the regulation as the GDPR or the directive. Okay, but in Europe, this is not, and maybe one point to a detail. A detail can be that can help me remember. The institutions of EU are in two towns, all in two towns, in Brussels, in Belgium, and in Strasbourg, in France. In France, it's only the parliament, 1 week a month, that's all. Everything else is in Brussels, in Belgium. Maybe it's an important detail to understand. Okay. But separately, and it's something totally different. You have that we call the Council of Europe. First of all, before going further, you can have some confusion. Why? Because EU has some institutions to work to. Institution, in order it works. The institutions are, and you see the confusion, the possibility. Don't be afraid. Our students in first year and even sometimes in second year of law make the confusion. In second year, it's not possible to accept the confusion. In first year, of course, we can, but just for several weeks. So I understand that you don't follow European studies. So sure that you can only ignore that, of course. So what is the confusion? The confusion is for work, the EU has got some institution. First, there is a council, and it's called European Council. And so, as you can see, it's different. European Council in one here, in EU, and Council of Europe here. You can see it's easier. Worst for you and for the student of Europe. There is a European Council, and this is for the head of the states members. Exactly in the Republic, the President of the Republic or the Prime Minister, and in the kingdoms, the king, of course. So it is for the head of state members. Okay? And you have another council. It can change. It's called EU Council. As you can see, EU Council is not European Council and it's not Council of Europe. Okay? And what is this? What is the difference? This one is the Council for the Minister of the EU on each point discussed. As an example, one time there is a question of transport in the EU, you have a EU Council of Transport, and you have the Ministry of the 27 state members of transport. Sometimes you have agriculture council, so you have the EU Council of Agriculture. Okay. Sometimes you have the question of digital question discussed by the European Union, so you have a EU Council of Digital Questions, and this is a mystery in every state members that has been considered by the question of digital. Okay, and more, because there is more. You have a parliament. This is, I said, European Parliament. And of course, you've got the Commission. The Commission upon it, which is the executive power, in fact. So we see it's very cool. It's not easy. It's not easy, it's hard stuff. But everything here is about European Union. And the other way, it's more easy. What are the differences? The Council of Europe is not born in 1975. It's born earliest. It's born in 1951. Sure. It's another difference. There is not only 27 state members. You have 46 parties, state parties, not state members, state parties, because it's a regional convention, in fact. So you have 47 parties, state parties. And it is not in Brussels, in Belgium. It is located in Strasbourg, in France. They are a parliament, but it's different parliaments because he is not elected. This one, European Parliament, European Union Parliament, is directly elected by the European citizens, directly, as we can vote, like for a National Assembly. Okay, so it's a very democratic institution, Parliament, the European Parliament. The Parliament here is not elected; it's the members are sent by all the states. Okay, and there is another point that I need to say to you. The Council of Europe, in fact, it's not a European treaty. It's the home, and it is a chart. It's a European chart. European chart of 1951. And to guarantee the apply of the European Union law, or to apply the chart, in each you have a court. You have a court, but it's not the same court, of course. It will be easier. It's not the same court. Here, you have the European Court, in English, European Union Court of Justice. And for today, it's not in Brussels, it's in Luxembourg. Luxembourg, you know, it's a little state between Belgium, France, and Germany. Here, we got for the chart another judge, easy, another court. This is, in English,